Hello, this is Jake Light, gaming lawyer at your service. We're back again with Great Ace Attorney. And we're gonna find out the real killer once and for all. Hopefully, let us end this, right? I want to end this. In any case, without further ado, let's do this. Press this. But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not? With flames of love, I'll have you know. There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Wow, what is that for? Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree? Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Gary Depp. Oh, what's wrong with you, woman? Never you mind that. The point is we were just having a jovial little dispute. Nothing more. Oh, why am I getting hit? And I won't have any more of these suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right, well, we'll see about that. What about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning ahead, Mrs. Gary Depp's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is. Alright, you want to get over it? Tell me why. Tell me why my client's guilty. You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. Well, him and me both then, like I said before. What? I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about. You know, she can be fierce, believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. A situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well, do you know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry? It was too frightening, that's the thing. I must have blocked it out. Helpful. I wonder if Mr. Pitt will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Mr. Sato. There must be a way to jog his memory about this. I don't think I can present any document, so... Come to think of it, we had a fire... Oh, la la la. Let's clear it, press. Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defense's culpability in this case? Sorry, what? But sir, you have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on the top it did. What a sight to behold it was. I keep changing this old man's voice. He's too generic, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe I can't do his voice. He put candles on the cake? Was it some kind of devil worship? Of course not. It was an angel cake. To celebrate my birthday, obviously. It seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo. Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. Definitely sounds like a devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how did you catch a cold from a fire? What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it. The windows. The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in the hospital for a while. I won't forget the birthday in a hurry. In a hurry. I knew it was a devil worship for all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. Who, apart from Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes. Once again, the jury's statements are full of personal prejudice. Them seem convinced they are right, even in the face of logical outcomes to the contrary. Alright. At least I know one connection, not sure about the other. This one. But the statement has changed.
Objection.
Convenient. I now know this judge's face over here. These two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another. They do. They do. How exactly, counsel? Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me. What's that? You say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Yeah, I keep changing his voice. Juror number 3, do you see? Oh, me? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, and you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in Gary Depp's household, and Mr. Gary Depp had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke. Pursue! Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Gary Depp? Oh dearie me, what is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am? It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now. Why is it? When the fire started in your house that day, did you or did your husband open the window? What? I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating? The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did? Oh, alright then. Yes, you're right. My husband was financially trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering. Even though your house was on fire? Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise. Of course, I should have realized. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruto. You managed to establish that the window was opened. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Gary Depp's formal statement. Ah. Right. Tốt. Pit. Nope, that is wrong. No. Well, I need to find the contradiction somewhere. I think I have to press the first guy. I have not pressed the first guy. Okay. Did I press this one? Maybe I not. Let's press this one. So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean. Oh my, such delight on your face. Such delight on your face. But I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I'm a very modern, metropolitan and rational woman. That's great. If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see, modern, metropolitan and rational thinking, wouldn't you say? And not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite one or two minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan and rational logic, wouldn't you say? Overwhelmingly. But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if we can come up with one. I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could. Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern metropolitan young lady. Right, I'm glad you omitted rational there. Oops, I should have done that. The window was open when the Gyarados were arguing that day. Yes, Miss Gyarados has finally admitted to it, which is a very strict that I feel like the fox is starting to clear, and then the experience is starting to show itself. Okay, let's press this last Führer. As we know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book in fact belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at that point of the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you'd say. That's not exactly how I put it, no. Well, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when this happened. I think that's what you call a strong alibi. So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I've nothing really left to say. Alright, if... Can I press her? Continue to press her somehow? The 4th book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. The title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, is the book that Mr. Garrett told us he had been reading. Well, I really couldn't say. On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of Lion's Pride he had been reading? I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes? He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset? Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on, as well, you know. I really don't. I barely noticed why I was throwing a book, much less the title of it. What? You have to say? What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I remember what it was. The memory I blocked out. It was listening to what this granny was saying while you're flying back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garrett, or the maid. I'll have you know. The man doesn't even flinch. Tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home after work I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight, I've lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear, stuck into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep. No words, just terror. And here we have it. The killing method. Well, not the killing, the harming method. I could smell it then, the god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Miss Naro, you mustn't think all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. Okay, now I can do this. Pit the pit, pit, pit the pit, pit, pit. Pit the pit, pit, pit. Two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief! You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain your counsel at once. Juror number 2. Do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We've demonstrated the fourth book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime. Originated in Mr. Gary Depp's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from Gary Depp's household to the street below. What's that now? After all, Mr. Gary Depp could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, General number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You gave us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? I'm really taking a big gamble here, but that was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Gary Depp household to the scene of the crime was the jackknife. Juror number 4, Mrs. Gary Depp. What? What now? I must apologize in advance for this, but I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Ah! Good Lord, Counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's a weapon that was lodged into the victim's back, man. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrideb was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it was flew out of the window and crossed the street to land neatly in her hand? Huh, even my missus hasn't got an aim like that. Yes, I admit. There are many details we don't understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Oh my. Ugh. Mrs. Garrideb, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? Oh, that. My lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madame. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman. And that was a surprise for me as well. I have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. We did it! Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. So, as a result of the defense summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty, against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And this trial will continue. Please don't. Let's just say it's the maid's fault. Now then, Lord Von Zix, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? By drinking this wine. This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter. If I may, Lord Von Zix, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense argument is a joke, to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrideb household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garrideb's house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards. Let me see, 15 yards? That's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I imagined. And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, as having portentous significance, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book wantonly hurled by the lady of the household traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. There's nothing I can say to that. That the prosecutor loves to sound of his own voice. Mr. Sato, you really don't like that person. Serialized, oh yeah, because of that. Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes. Go ahead. The prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. Ha, shut you up, eh? To that end, Juror number 4, Mrs. Joanne Garritap, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror? Yeah. Order! Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand because we can't choose our jury randomly. I guess it has to be people we know.
Objection.
And unnecessary. Lord Van Zix. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both the burning book and the jackknife must have flown through the sky before the couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Yes, sir. Constable Rowley Bit, reporting for duty, sir. Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of the villains who's appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rowley, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well, I hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. And order witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir. Right. Let's see. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garritap. Believe me, a London bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garritap house are top hinge casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go fetch and help, but my trusty Rowley was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Well, thing is, what about before then? But what is top hinge casement windows? Well, this is quite startling. Top hinge casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir. Sorry, but, what exactly is a top hinge casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course, sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garidev's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. But as it's a top hinge casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. Oh. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain point. It prevents it opening? This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. No! You see the problem then? Good, your education is windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered, something we've discounted already. That can't be! Did you see that, Rolly? The young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. We British people are superior. Oh yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how it crumbled before me, the great British people. Oh, Rolly, you're so strong. How is this happening? I haven't even started cross-examining yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination. Ugh, my lord. Oh, good. Another desperate situation. Alright. Alright. We're done here. We're out of time. And this is another long-ass cross-examination. And I'll have to do this in the next one. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this episode. I really wish it was just the mate. But I guess it would be kind of anticlimactic if it was. So we'll see. If it's actually this two who committed the crime. But it's getting confusing now, so I can't be sure anymore. Okay, so, well, take care, stay hopeful, but be critical, right? Bye-bye.